part of this conversation would be to get to know the company.
hmm
So to start, could you just quickly introduce yourself and tell us about you?
Sure. So my name is Brendan Stiffel. I am a second year about to graduate at MIT Sloan doing my MBA. My background is engineering, and I'm a little bit of a engineer turned entrepreneur. So after working a little bit in engineering environments, I worked for about 8 years out in San Francisco at various startups, and now I'm kind of pursuing that full time.
It's awesome. Can you tell us what you're pursuing full time right now?
So right now I am working on my own startup, SirMixABot, and SirMixABot is a robotic bartender that's helping people get their preferred drink in their preferred location. So it's a multi-part solution, with the hardware, software, and data components. It's going after the office, event, and home spaces in terms of customers. And we've been working through different iterations, going to home consumers around the world in kind of a kit form to a plug and play commercial unit for offices. Everything really designed to kind of enhance experiences. It's a product driven by user demands. So it's designed in a way that is a value add in different locations, whether it's adding safety features, discoverability, shareability. Everything we're doing as a team and as a product is driven around customer kind of insights.
Awesome. Could you share with us kind of like a historic view of the company to this point? Like what are the biggest milestones that you guys have hit since founding? Like what are just and what are just like the exciting moments?
Yeah, absolutely. So to give a little timeline of SirMixABot, early on, as I said, I'm at Sloan in my second year. So the idea actually came about 8 months before coming to business school. And it was what we always called, me and my co-founder, like a left field idea. Left field being at the time I could have gone to go work for this company that had acquired the previous company I was at. I could have gone to work in big tech, or out of left field, I could try to do something in this space. So originally, the conception for the company as a whole was just two main market insights. The market insights, one, were the rise in adoption of kind of automated devices, and two was the kind of rising scene in the cocktail space. So we looked at the shift towards cocktails in Southeast Asia, in Australia, in Europe, and then primarily in the US and in North America. It was They sound a little bit independent, automation and kind of smart appliances, and then cocktails. But there was actually an overlap that we saw, both from like a keyword demand standpoint, but also on like online platforms, your YouTubes, your Reddits, different forums, etc. So that was the inception of the idea, and that was back in the fall winter of 2017. Um, the big early milestones were, though that first one was about really like a 2 week process to validate, does a market exist for this. The next 2 weeks to maybe a month were saying, what kind of product would fit into this space, and can you build that product with enough margin to create a business. So that was starting to look at the hardware side, and basically validating cost feasibility. And then the big milestone that these are all building up to is we started driving customer demand. So kind of month 2 through 4 was building out a website, building traffic towards the product, and getting people, complete strangers around the world, to buy into something brand new with nothing like it. So the first kind of 4 to 5 months were just that, defining a market, building some prototypes, or building some prototypes at cost, and then getting real converted customers. Um, the next couple months, the big milestone was we had to kind of put our money where our mouth was and start shipping stuff out. So we followed, similar to MakerBot 3D printers. They had an early model where they kind of flat packed kits or modular 3D printers for home consumers. And we use that as a low barrier way to make our first kind of alpha, beta, whatever you want to call them, version of SirMixABot, and ship them to these super tech savvy consumers at home, who would have, we called it like a fun weekend project. After kind of 3 to 4 hours, you would have your robotic bartender. All you needed to do was use a screwdriver, a wrench. It was like a kind of like building a model, so to speak. So those were the big early milestones. The business, in a sense, was put on pause as I came to MIT Sloan. So from a manufacturing standpoint, we stopped delivering units and said, we'll keep the business alive, we'll support those early customers. But really, I was, starting business school and had a lot on my plate, at least as anticipated, for the first couple of months. So from kind of summer to fall of 2018, um, was just diving into Sloan and then figuring out, okay, I'm ready to get back on SirMixABot. Started looking at team. That's when we started recruiting kind of across campus and around Boston, mainly on the kind of technical side. We want to round out kind of business and technical, and can talk about team later. But the big milestone I would say there was building out like a robust team that could take us from an early product with an early market to like a more mature product and a more mature market. Um, that was what we did really through that winter through spring of 2018, winter 2018 through spring of 2019. And the big milestone for us was 2019 doing the MIT Delta V Accelerator. So that's where the team was together. We got to really push product. We got to define our beachhead market, build towards a sustainable business model, create a legitimate beachhead in the Boston market, and then go obviously finish up with the amazing like launches and demo days and things like that. So those were the big developments coming out of Delta V. I was coming into my second year of Sloan. The idea was to from a business kind of strategy standpoint, outline, okay, how do we get from here being, we have kind of the concept for our first commercial unit, and we have our beachhead well defined. How do we get from here to actually producing at scale, and delivering to this market that we've defined? So part of that is fundraising, part of that is team, part of that is manufacturing. I would say those three are kind of the main focuses right now. What kind of happens from that is they're a little bit codependent. So it's hard to sometimes hire a team, at least at a full-time basis, without fundraising. Same with production, hard to produce without funds unless you kind of scale in other efficient ways. Bringing us to today, which is spring 2020. During COVID, we have kind of changed our value offerings a little bit, but also from a fundraising standpoint, we've changed that strategy. So we're currently going down the crowdfunding path, and we're building out both a product lineup and a value offering to capitalize on what we see as a pretty captive audience at home right now. And yeah, we're building towards that as the mechanism that will unlock further team, further development, further distribution.
Just as a follow-up, can you elaborate into kind of how COVID-19 has changed your game plan?
Yeah, so up until about six to 8 weeks ago, we were just deep in the process of building out our Boston beta offices. They were signing up, paying for kind of early lease agreements. We were finalizing like how to get from where we are now to producing maybe 20 to 50 commercial units. And all of our kind of marketing and outreach and sales platforms were set and kind of working. And then COVID hit and nobody went to the office anymore, and nobody in offices was buying anything anymore. So there was a period of about 2 weeks that was really just like scratching heads saying, okay, what do we do now? The kind of initial spark was actually a lot of home consumers, both previous contacts and new people coming to us to say like, hey, this would be the perfect time for SirMixABot. Like I'm at home, like I'm drinking every night or playing around with cocktails, like now is the time. Like I'm so interested. When can I get one? And we thought like that's cool, but like, is that an actual market or like a shift that we should look at? And we started doing a little bit more in terms of research, similar to like early days, where a couple like interesting statistics. One was that the alcohol consumption, the home alcohol consumption in the Bay Area for March 2020 was 42% greater than it was in March 2019. So there's like these crazy statistics of people ordering more alcohol, drinking more at home. There's also rises on the platform side. So we saw things like the rise in TikTok, like the explosion of like even Netflix shows, like people binging Tiger King and it becoming this phenomenon of like just mass like online like Zoom. Everybody knows about Zoom stock is rised astronomically. People playing House Party. We said, okay, if we can't do anything on the hardware side right now, and we can't do anything in the office space right now, how can we like maintain momentum, but still build something that's going to be relevant in the future of the business? So for that reason, we decided to focus on software, and we decided to focus on the kind of communities at home. And what we've been building are, for in the beginning, really what people were already hacking together. So people are having these virtual happy hours with their friends or coworkers on Zoom, and we said, hey, let's build a more formal version of that, and let's add more value. So we're doing online cocktail classes with professional bartenders, where people can get drink kits shipped to their home. They can follow along with professional bartender. They can get on and do Q&A. They can learn fun facts. And then we're trying to gamify the experience too, to add some sort of formal, like, hey, submitting the picture of the best cocktail, the best amateur cocktail, you get a prize. Or even like, hey, picture of like the biggest mess you create in your kitchen, like we'll give you something for that too. So a lot of it is just like building this community for people to stay in contact with friends, with family, but in terms of the future of the business, also build new communities. So we're doing kind of focus groups around, like, if you're a whiskey lover, you can jump into a breakout room or an interest group, or get on a mailing list to like share your favorite recipes. So that's a little bit of what we're building. We're also doing things like online gaming and like a board game and a drinking game. But a lot of it right now is just like software and community building. I think we are watching closely for, obviously things are not better off during COVID, but there are opportunities here. And I think we're just trying to take advantage of, again, what I call like a captive audience. We're looking at, people who have not lost their jobs. That's like a big distinction, is these are people who still have their jobs, but they're working from home. They're probably in their like 20s and 30s. And they're the same people who are like, yeah, playing on TikTok and watching Tiger King at night. They're also down to like make some cocktails and like share some drinks.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And the last question I have for you is, who's on the team right now? Kind of how do you guys come about? And also, what's the team culture like?
Yeah, so team, I can talk. Do you want full history or just like the MIT history,
Uh,
or since coming to MIT history?
the relevant one. So I guess like right now,
Yeah.
because the audience is people that are interested in joining you from this point forward. So I think the team right now. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, for SirMixABot's team, and maybe talking a little bit about the culture as well. Really, there's a couple things that kind of bring us together, and then we like being upfront with some like collective mindsets. I would say the team itself has, for whatever reason, formed itself as everyone has some technical background. I don't think that's necessary, but that's just happenstance what happened. Probably with the hardware component, you just get naturally people who like to build things or see physically what they're working on. Um, Again, I don't think that's something that is actually more necessary in kind of a cultural mentality. I would say is the rationale that everything we're building for a purpose. So whether it's a business decision or a technical decision, having the mindset that I'm building this because someone wants it, or because data shows it, or because a customer group said so. And at the end of the day, when you step back from SirMixABot and you can look at it as a product, either from the components or the material selection or how the software interface is set up, everything you look at, we can have confidence to say like, oh, we know that because they told us. We know that because they told us. We know that because they told us. So that's kind of a shared mindset that is like, we're not just building this because this is cool. We're building this because people want it, and it gives us confidence. I think uh, more generally speaking about from a culture standpoint, there's also a lot of kind of two-way learning experiences. So being a mainly student-led team, a lot of us come in because we want to learn about the other side of the business or learn about something technical. And that's something we try to be upfront about, to say, hey, as a young company, obviously we're not offering a lot of the benefits from a like compensatory standpoint. But we can say, if you want to learn about like going from 0 to 1 with the product, or if you want to learn about a startup environment, and you come with technical expertise and you want to learn about business expertise or maybe market fit or branding, whatever it may be, whatever you want to learn about, it always feels like there's, at least in my experience, and we're trying to make this intentional, a two-way exchange of knowledge, of experience, of things like that. So we're very open door on the team. People can absolutely feel free to express ideas, be creative, take chances. We certainly make a lot of changes, so it's not like anybody is really dead set or demanding on sticking with their ways. Even right now, as we talk about COVID, we make changes because the opportunities change. Um, and then I can talk a little bit more specifically about the team, like who's on it and what it looks like. It started since coming to MIT as probably 2/3 technical and 1/3 kind of business and strategy. And it's probably flipped the other way, where now we have a little bit less technical of a team and more people on like business, whether it's like lining up manufacturing and operations or marketing. Um, but I would say that's, again, it's a little intentional because of how the workload has shifted, but I don't think it's set in stone to be that way. I think what we're looking for now, well, first and foremost, I think we look for passion. Like when we've interviewed a ton of candidates, um, there's nobody coming into this who's going to be an absolute professional at robotic bartenders, because there are no robotic bartenders. But we like seeing people who are like, oh, I get this as a product, and I get this as a concept and as a business. This is creating value, and I want to be part of that. That just like first and foremost, I think we like ranking people based on passion when interviewing. Um, but specifically from a skill set standpoint, we're looking at people on the technical side in kind of mechatronics, developer, even like CTO type roles. We're also looking for people heavily on the marketing side, both who can help with branding as we go to fundraising, kind of positioning our product, customer outreach, sales. We call it marketing, but it's really like just positioning SirMixABot as a to be viewable to the masses, or not to the masses, but to different types of audiences.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, so that wraps up our getting to know the company part.
Awesome.
All right.